Hello, everyone. I'm Janine Banks, Vice President of Core Third-Party Products at Google. I'm thrilled to welcome all of you to Firebase Summit 2021. Many of you have been with Firebase for a long time, and some others are just getting started building their first apps. Well, wherever you are in your journey with Firebase, it has something for everyone. Here at Google, we believe that third-party ecosystems are essential to helping people live better, go places, try new things, and grow businesses. I started coding as a teenager, back when HTML4 was drafted, and I was afforded an opportunity in an internship to build a website for researchers all around the world who were doing experiments to try to understand the beginning of the universe. Now, that's just one example of why we believe that open and vibrant developer ecosystems are key to creating economic impact and moving the world forward. But we know that being a developer is just not easy. And when you're innovating and inventing new things, it comes with its own set of challenges. That's why we're committed to building integrated, easy to use, secure, and extensible tools to help you build apps and experiences that your users not only trust and rely on, but they love. Through our investments in open web technologies like Chrome DevTools and Progressive Web Apps, or PWAs, and through our mobile ecosystem with Android and Flutter, as well as machine learning powered by TensorFlow and TPUs. Well, today we're going to be focusing in on Firebase, and we just love getting your feedback and continuously listening to your needs because it helps us build roadmaps that bring value to you. Today, we're going to be sharing a whole range of exciting updates, and to tell you more about that, I'm going to welcome Kristen Richards from our Firebase team.
Thanks, Janine, and hello to everyone joining us. I'm Kristen Richards, and I'm a Group Product Manager at Firebase. Our mission is to help developers succeed by making it easy to build and grow apps and games users love. We bring together tools, Google products, and cloud services across an app's journey under one platform. Millions of developers, from startups to enterprises, use Firebase to reach and engage billions of users. Your continued trust inspires and motivates us to keep making Firebase even better. Over the next 30 minutes, we're going to unveil updates to our platform that will help you accelerate app development, run your app with confidence, and scale with ease so you can make your app the best it can be. Let's get started. Turning an idea into an app may sound simple, but the reality is a lot more complicated. To build a feature-rich, stable, and secure app, you often need to integrate services from many third-party tools. This involves learning new APIs, writing code, and figuring out how to make everything work together seamlessly. Firebase helps you get your app up and running by providing fully managed infrastructure with a streamlined experience that lets you focus on what matters most. For example, with Firebase extensions, which are prepackaged bundles of code, you can automate common development tasks and add new functionality to your app much faster. To show you how, I'm going to pass it over to Kara.
Thanks, Kristen. To give you a sense of how I might use extensions to accelerate my app development, let's walk through an app I created that provides full e-commerce functionality with the help of a few extensions. I've really gotten into coffee recently, and I've built an app to sell my favorite coffee items. Introducing Kara's Coffee. I can't wait to share my love of coffee with the world, but to do that, I need to figure out how to accept payments and somehow get my products to my customers. Firebase extensions will allow me to layer on business functionality through integrating my app with APIs from companies I already know and trust. Let's walk through it. Here I am in the Firebase Console. I have many extensions installed, but let's just go through the payments and shipping extensions. Here's the Run Payments with Stripe extension. I specified my products and my customer collection in the configuration. This keeps my Firestore and Stripe data in sync for product SKUs and customer data. Now let's go to my app and add an item to my cart to buy. It's time to figure out shipping costs. Because I have the Calculate Rates extension from ShipEngine installed, when I click this button, the extension automatically fires to calculate the shipping rate for that address. When I click Place Order, I use the new Web SDK for the Run Payments with Stripe extension to easily create a checkout section object in Firestore with all the metadata. The extension then triggers and automatically calls the Stripe API, passing it data from the checkout session document. This generates the URL to the checkout payment page you'll see soon. Now I'm finally ready to pay. I enter my credit card, don't steal it now, and when I click on Pay, Stripe securely processes my payment. Note that I'm purchasing a la carte items here. That's right, the Stripe extension now supports one-time payments in addition to the recurring payments we introduced earlier in the year. And that's not all. You heard it here first. There's a completely new feature from Stripe that makes it possible to turn on new payment methods with just one click in the Stripe dashboard. This allows me to add over 15 different payment methods, including wallets, bank redirects, and buy now, pay later products with no additional code. The way we shop is always changing, and we're excited our friends at Stripe made this feature available to users of their extension at launch. If my payment succeeds, the extension automatically creates a document in the payments collection. This then kicks off a purchase shipping labels with ShipEngine extension. The shipping label details get added straight into the payments collection. Here it is. I can even click in to get my label to print. Now I've shown how the ShipEngine and Stripe extensions work together to make two very difficult tasks so much easier. Look at how little code it took to calculate shipping rates, collect payments, and create a shipping label. Because extensions are modular and composable, when new needs arise, I can integrate new extensions with just a few lines of code. Here's a list of some of the new extensions I used. There are many more available in the Firebase extensions library from services such as Google Pay, Twilio, and others. It would have taken me months to research and build out each of these features. As a coffee entrepreneur with limited time and runway, I'm glad I didn't have to tackle payments or product shipments from scratch. With Firebase extensions, I was able to get all these integrations done in less than a week, so I can focus on the features that really make my website stand out. By the way, did I mention that this is a real app? All the code for Kara's Coffee is available open source on GitHub, and you can see for yourself how incredibly easy it is to build a fully featured app using extensions. We're excited to see what you build. Back to you, Kristen.
Thanks, Kara. As you just saw, integrating multiple services into your app can be time-consuming, but extensions makes it quick and easy to add new features and functionality to your app. Another tedious part of app development is ensuring your app works across popular platforms and devices. People expect a fast and smooth experience as they move from their mobile device to the web to their smart TV. To help you deliver a great cross-device experience with less work and hassle, we're pleased to announce that Firebase and Google Analytics now offer beta-level support for tvOS and macOS. Now you can use your favorite Firebase products to build apps that are compatible with Apple TVs and Macs. This has been one of the most requested features from our community. To tell you more about what this means and how it works, I'm going to pass it off to Charlotte.
Thanks, Kristen. Like Kara, I'm a huge fan of good coffee. So we extended Kara's coffee store by creating an iOS app so that our users can order some coffee beans on their phone. We want to make our users' experiences as smooth as possible. Once they place their coffee bean order on their iPhone, they want to know when that order will arrive, no matter what Apple devices they're using. At a glance on their Apple Watches during their daily commute, or in between meetings on their Macs. Wouldn't it be great if my app also worked for all Apple platforms? I've used the Firebase SDKs in my iOS app, and I'd like to be able to target other platforms without the need to write additional code. Thanks to the new beta supporting Firebase for Apple platforms, now I can, and all with a single code base using the Firebase SDKs. Now, let's look at some code to see how easy it is to make all this happen. The first step is to configure the Firebase SDKs for my app. Because all Firebase products now support Swift Package Manager, the installation is faster than ever before. I'm powering my product catalog and shopping cart with Firestore, so let's add that using the Swift Package Manager. To implement the shopping cart, I'm using Firestore to set my new cart data in the update cart function. Thanks to Firestore Callable support, fetching and mapping Firestore data become quick and easy. And because I'm using Swift UI, I can also bind the cart items to my visual elements, making the development process even faster. Now I can apply the same code with all major Apple platform targets, like tvOS and macOS. watchOS support is through the community-supported SDKs and the Firestore REST API. There you go. Now our users can conveniently access Kara's coffee on all their Apple devices, and with a minimum effort for us. With Crashlytics support for Apple platform, you will quickly identify any critical crashes and where they occur just by adding the Crashlytics SDK. You can even break down the crashes by Apple device type or operating system using the Firebase Console. Also, we've heard your feedback, and we're so excited to announce that Google Analytics now supports tvOS and macOS, which means you can gain critical insight into user behavior and engagement using the same event logging code you probably already have in your iOS app. And the device category filtering is coming soon, so you can easily segment analytics data by device type and even create custom experiences for Apple users using remote config. There is one more excitement for game developers. Our C++ SDK now supports Apple TV, so you can develop breathtaking Apple arcade games with Firebase. We understand how hard it is to ensure your app works seamlessly across all Apple platforms, and that providing a smooth cross-platform experience is so important to keep users engaged. That is why we're committed to providing support for Apple platforms so you can accelerate your app development process with a minimum effort. We hope this gets your Firebase-powered apps into the hands of more Apple users, wherever they are. And now I'll pass it back to Kristen.
Thanks, Charlotte. In addition to introducing support for Apple platforms, we're also expanding support for game frameworks and engines to accelerate game development. Today, we're excited to announce that Cloud Firestore is available for Unity and C++. Now you can add the power of Cloud Firestore to your game's backend in seconds and use it to store and sync your game data in near real time, add offline support, and scale your game experience to support thousands of players. Another important but complex component of successful games is stability. A buggy game that constantly crashes and prevents players from winning or unlocking new levels will drive people away and bring down your App Store rating. But a game's codebase can be tricky to navigate and find issues. That's why we've made a number of updates to Crashlytics to make this easier. To help you get insight into your app's native C++ crashes, we've made big improvements to the Crashlytics Ndk Sdk. You'll now see a wider range of native crash types being reported and more in-depth stack traces to help debug and fix issues faster. These native crash enhancements have been extended to our SDK for Unity. We now show more symbolic-gated C++ frames that can be tied back to your C# code to help track down and fix root problems. These Crashlytics SDK for Unity updates are available on iOS today and will be rolling out for Android devices in the coming weeks. In the meantime, you can check out our Crashlytics for Games technical session for more detail. Last but not least, we're also making it easy for you to use Flutter and Firebase together. Flutter is Google's open source framework for building beautiful, natively compiled, multi-platform apps from a single codebase. It's a natural complement to Firebase's cross-platform backend services. When you combine Flutter with Firebase, you can build apps that reach users across platforms with the least amount of code. But a common hurdle for adopting new platforms is getting the required tooling working on your local machine. With the latest release of Dartpad, Flutter's online editor, you get support for Firebase out of the box. This means that all you need is a browser, and you can start writing code with Flutter and Firebase right away. Today, Dartpad supports Cloud Firestore and Firebase authentication, with other Firebase products coming soon. Go to dartpad.dev and import the Firebase packages to get started. All right, so we've talked about how Firebase can help you add new functionality and features to your app with extensions. We've also covered how the enhanced support we provide for Apple platforms, gaming frameworks, and other Google tools like Flutter will make it easy to deliver a great experience across multiple platforms and devices. But what good is rapid development if the final product isn't secure? We want to help you safeguard your data, protect your users, and control who has access to your resources and infrastructure. That's why we build our tools with ingrained privacy and security features so you don't have to worry. A few months ago, we introduced Appcheck. Appcheck protects your application by helping secure your backend resources. It does this by attesting that incoming traffic is coming from your app on a legitimate device. Today, Appcheck can do even more because we've made 3 major updates. First, we're pleased to announce that you can now use Appcheck to protect access to Firestore. This is in addition to using it for cloud storage for Firebase, real-time database, and cloud functions for Firebase that we announced earlier this year. Second, we've added custom server protections so you can use Appcheck with any custom backend resources, and even integrate it with API management platforms like Apogee and CDNs like Cloudflare. Finally, in addition to the key attestation providers we support today, we've added Apple's app attestation provider Apptest and reCAPTCHA Enterprise to Appcheck. Go to Appcheck in the console to start securing your backend resources today. Now, security and privacy go hand in hand. In July 2020, Google advanced its commitment to transparency and privacy when Google Play announced the new data safety section, a developer-provided disclosure of user data collection, sharing, and security practices for their app. To help you meet these new standards, we're launching detailed documentation that states what data each Firebase product collects or shares. Our goal is to continue to build upon Google's privacy commitment and give you a head start to prepare for Google Play's new data safety section, which launches to users next year. The updates we have made to Appcheck and the launch of our Google Play data safety section documentation are designed to give you peace of mind that not only will Firebase accelerate app development, we will also help you keep your app and data secure right from the start. Now let's talk about how Firebase can help you run your app with confidence. After your app is launched, it's important to ensure it's working as designed in the hands of your users. With Firebase, you can monitor your app's performance and stability, test changes, and get insight into how you can resolve issues to deliver the best experience possible. One big part of an app's experience is how fast and responsive it is. Nobody wants to use a sluggish app, no matter how great its features are. Firebase Performance Monitoring gathers and presents data about your app's performance so you know exactly what's happening in your app and when users are experiencing slowness from their point of view. But even if you can thoroughly test your app on your local machine, Users will access it on different devices, from different countries, and on different network speeds. So your app can still run into latency issues. And the only thing worse than your app having latency issues is not knowing about them. That's why we're so excited to release Firebase Performance Alerts in beta. These new performance alerts will send you an email when your app start time exceeds a given threshold, so that you can investigate and fix the latency issues as soon as it appears. Now you can release your app with confidence, knowing that even if your app start time slows down, you will be the first to know. What's even better is that we'll be adding alerts for other types of performance metrics over the coming weeks. Another major component of an app's experience is its stability. Few people want to use a slow app, but even fewer want to use an app that constantly crashes. On top of Crashlytics' enhanced support for Apple platforms and game reporting that we talked about earlier, we have 2 more updates to share with you today. Firebase Crashlytics aims to give you a complete view of your app stability, alerting you whenever a critical crash happens, so you can resolve bugs before they impact a large number of users. From our research, almost 50% of all unintended application exits on Android are actually caused by application not responding errors, or ANRs. Oftentimes, they can be even worse than crashes to app health. Well, I'm thrilled to share that Crashlytics now reports ANRs and provides helpful information about impacted threads so that you can pinpoint the cause of the ANR faster. Not only does Crashlytics aim to surface all of your app's issues, but we also want to save you time by showing you which issues are the most important to fix. I'm excited to unveil a new concept in Crashlytics that we're calling signals. Signals analyze your crashes to uncover interesting commonalities and characteristics. Today we're launching with 3 signals: early crashes, repetitive crashes, and fresh issues. To show you signals and ANRs in action, I'll kick it over to Cleo to take a look at our new app, Party Crasher.
Thanks, Kristen. As a release manager for Party Crasher, I pay close attention to the Crashlytics dashboard during a rollout. We've just released our latest version of Party Crasher to 10% of our customers. Let's take a look at how the release is going. Taking a quick peek at app crashes across all my current app versions, I can immediately see signals are appearing to let me know some interesting characteristics about one of our top crashes. In addition to this crash having one of the highest event counts, the repetitive tag lets us know that customers have been running into this issue over and over. To make sure that there aren't any more like this, I'm going to filter to find other repetitive issues by going to the new issue signal filter available here. Inside, you can see 2 other signal types available: fresh, meaning new issues, and early, meaning crashes are happening to users near app start. Now, let me check for the other repetitive signals. Looks like there's one other repetitive issue, but thankfully, we fixed these 2 issues in the latest release. I'm going to close these out to see if they regress in the new release. Thanks to bulk issue management, another new feature we've recently launched, I can select multiple issues and close them all in one go. With that done, let's dig in further on the new release by filtering to look at fresh issues in version 1.5. Uh-oh. It looks like we have 2 fresh issues cropping up for customers, one that is happening early in a customer's session and a new ANR. From the early signal, I can see that almost all of the customers that experienced this crash saw it in the first 5 seconds of opening the app. And if we look at an individual event, we can see the specific duration of user session. This crash looks like it's happening before customers have even had a chance to sign in. We'll definitely need to prioritize and flag this one to the team. All right, let's go back and see what might be happening with this fresh ANR. On the details page, I can clearly see, thanks to Thread Insights, which thread triggered the ANR and which thread is blocking. My hunch is that there's a deadlock happening when a customer is trying to crash a party, and this is a hugely impactful customer journey for us. I'm glad we found it early in this rollout. I better send a quick note to my team that we need to halt this rollout and fix these critical issues. You can see the power of these features working together. With ANRs and signals, I'm able to focus on the highest impact events to reduce churn and deliver new features with confidence. Signals are available to both iOS and Android app developers. Give it a try in your next app release. And with that, I'll pass it back to Kristen.
Thanks, Cleo. As you just saw, Firebase can help you run your app with confidence by giving you actionable insights into performance and stability issues so you can deliver an amazing experience to users. Now let's move on to how Firebase can help you scale with ease. As your app grows, you may need more control, automation, and flexibility to drive the business outcomes that you want, such as increased revenue. Thanks to our integrations with AdMob and Google Analytics, Firebase provides insight into the ad revenue you generate, and together with our suite of experimentation products, you can use Firebase to test and optimize your monetization strategy. Today, we're excited to share that you can begin experimenting with any ad monetization platform, including MoPub and IronSource, with the launch of enhanced ad revenue measurement. When you run an A/B test, for example, you can now choose estimated ad revenue as your goal, and it will include all revenue from your linked AdMob account and any ad impression revenue you supply through the SDK. To get a holistic view of how all of your ad monetization strategies are performing, you can use the new publisher report in the updated Google Analytics dashboard that we released last month. In addition to giving you insight into your ad revenue, Firebase also provides huge flexibility to target notifications, app configurations, and A/B tests based on observed user behavior. We're building on that capability by adding support for targeting predictive audiences from Google Analytics. Predictive audiences give you the ability to segment users by their predicted future behavior, such as their likelihood to churn or make a purchase. One powerful way you can choose these audiences is by sending targeted push notifications and in-app messages. For example, you can send a coupon code to users who are predicted to churn to keep them engaged. Google Analytics predictive audiences work seamlessly with Firebase Cloud Messaging and in-app messaging. Firebase Cloud Messaging makes it easy to send targeted, automated, and customized push notifications across platforms so that you can reach users even when they aren't actively using your app. Firebase in-app messaging gives you the ability to send contextual messages to users who are actively using your app, so you can encourage them to complete key in-app actions. These two products go hand in hand in keeping users engaged, so today we're thrilled to unveil a redesigned console experience that brings them together. Now you can choose, configure, and deploy the optimal messaging strategy for different audiences from one place. This unified dashboard gives you a holistic view into all of your messaging campaigns so that you can run sophisticated and multi-touch campaigns. With capabilities like search, advanced filtering, and inline engagement metrics for each of your campaigns, like open and click rates, we have simplified the console experience for you. As you grow and acquire more users, running targeted and customized messaging campaigns will be critical to keeping users engaged. Another way to retain and delight users is by personalizing the app experience to suit their needs and preferences. With Firebase Remote Config, you can dynamically tailor the way your app looks and behaves without releasing a new version. We've been working hard to strengthen Firebase Remote Config and have a bunch of exciting updates to share. To tell you more, here's John.
Thanks, Kristen. As you know, Remote Config allows you to remotely configure your app without performing a release. Remote Config can be used to manage feature flags, create targeted configurations for specific user groups, run A/B tests, and much more. At I/O, we told you about some improvements to Remote Config that make it easier for you to understand your active configuration and to optimize experiences for your users. Since then, we've made even more improvements that will make it easier than ever to understand and safely change your app's configuration. Based on your feedback, we've completely redesigned the parameter edit flow to make it easier to understand and edit targeting conditions and make changes to default values. We've added data type support to provide visibility and data validation for your parameter values, reducing the risk of accidentally pushing a bad value to your users. We've also updated the change history to make it easier to see when and how your parameters were last changed, so you can easily correlate configuration changes to changes in app behavior. But that's not all. At I/O, we also told you about a new feature we were working on called personalization. And now that it's available in public beta, I'm excited to share more details about what it can do for you. You're probably already familiar with A/B testing. And A/B testing is a great tool for finding optimal experiences for your app users as a whole. But what if you could find the best experience for each of your users individually? And what if you could do this automatically, without the need to structure, analyze, and roll out an A/B test? Well, now you can, thanks to our new personalization feature in Remote Config. Personalization uses the power of Google's machine learning to select optimal experiences for your users. Let's take a walk through the new feature to see how it works. I'm in the Remote Config page of the Firebase Console for my game Bingo Blast. Let's zoom into this parameter, ratings prompt location, which works with my client-side code to control the placement of my app's rating prompt. I want to show my ratings prompt at the right time to maximize my ratings. That's where personalization comes in. I'm going to personalize this parameter by clicking on this dropdown to add personalization. Now I can configure the experiences I want to try. I'll enter in 1, 4, and 8 as the number of levels that need to be completed before showing the prompt. Next, I will select Review Dialog Accepted as my objective. Finally, I just need to select the right audience for my personalization. I want this to apply to my Android users, so I'll set the appropriate condition here. Okay, this is all ready to go now. To start running the personalization, I just need to save and publish these changes. After about 7 days, the personalization should be working at maximum effectiveness. Let's click on the personalization icon to open the results page. At the top of the page, I can see my personalization is outperforming my baseline by 13%. Awesome news! The rest of the page gives me options to examine my results in more detail. Considering the flexibility of Remote Config to control nearly any aspect of your app's behavior, the opportunities for personalization are nearly endless. Now that personalization is available in public beta, you can start scaling your app today without scaling your effort. And now I'll pass it back to Kristen to wrap up.
Thanks, John. Throughout this keynote, we walked you through the work we've done to make Firebase even better and help you accelerate app development, run your app with confidence, and scale with ease. From building your app to optimizing it, we are your partner throughout the entire journey. You can rely on us to make your app the best it can be for users and your business. Thank you for joining us today, and be sure to check out the other technical sessions and interactive content we have lined up during the rest of Firebase Summit.
Hey everyone, and welcome to Ask Firebase Live. I'm your host, Rachel Saunders, and I'm on the DevRel team here on Firebase, but I'm also here with a couple other Firebasers to answer all of your burning questions about Firebase, but especially those questions about things that we've launched over the last couple months, and even the things that you might have heard in the What's New in Firebase keynote that you hopefully just watched. But before we get started, let's find out who these other Firebasers are. So Chris, Jeff, want to introduce yourselves and tell us one thing that launched in the last couple months that you just loved.
Hey, my name is Chris Chestnut, and I'm a software engineer on the Firebase Crashlytics team. Super excited to be here for Ask Firebase Live. But as for my favorite new thing, I'm gonna have to say I'm thrilled to hear about Firebase's support for multiple Apple platforms. It's been one of the most requested features for Apple developers, and with support for tvOS and macOS, Firebase is delivering.
Yes, it is.
All right, and I'm Jeff. I'm also a member of the Firebase DevRel team. I'm coming to you from New Jersey. My favorite launch from the past few months has to be the V9 SDK of the Firebase JavaScript library. I think it's super exciting that we can make people's websites smaller and therefore faster. So yeah, excited to be here.
That's awesome. Hopefully we get some questions about some of those things later on the show. But where are all these questions, where did they come from? We've been collecting your questions from lots of different sources, but especially Twitter and any of those questions that were tagged with #AskFirebase. But we still want more questions. There is a live chat right now that's going on right now. You can ask your questions in that live chat. You'll get Firebasers to answer those questions. We might even pull some of those questions live on the show that Chris and Jeff and I might answer live here on the show. But definitely interact with that live chat and post your questions there. But let's go ahead and see what this first question might be. I'm going to bring up my question sheet and let's see what we got. All right, our first question, it's about Crashlytics. This team has been like on fire this year. So let's see what the first question might be is, all right, why does A&R reporting for Crashlytics only support devices running Android 11 or higher? Chris, I think you might be able to help us out with this since you're on that Crashlytics team.
Yeah, I can definitely take this one. That's a great question. I recently synced up with the engineers who developed this feature. While many devices are still running the older versions of Android, there was a decision going on to use the most reliable way forward. So there's an API that underlies this whole system, and that's what the team went with, rather than like SigQuit or Watchdog-based approaches. They went with something that's going to prepare customers for the future. So yeah.
Well, that's a good path forward. I guess we have to look forward to all those different when everyone does migrate to Android 11 and higher. We actually have another question about Crashlytics, Chris, but this one's about Unity. So kind of switching gears a little bit. But Marcus asks, I'm so excited about Crashlytics supporting IL2 CPP, but I'm not seeing any of my crashes for Android apps. Did IL2 CPP support actually launch? Now, I worked on that feature, so I think it did launch, but maybe you can tell us what might be happening with Marcus's apps.
Yeah, this is another great question. I think I can answer this one too. So iOS IL2 CPP support launched.
It's a mouthful,
right?
isn't it?
Every time. I practice saying it too, but it's going to catch me a couple times. That launched several weeks ago. But Android IL2 CPP support is what just launched. And there are 3 things you should probably do to your existing Android apps to get this support. 1, you'll need to update to the latest Unity SDK, at least 8.6.1 or higher. 2, you'll need to download the Firebase CLI. There are docs on how to do this that we'll provide somewhere near this video. And 3, whenever you create a build for which you want to see symbolic stack traces in the Firebase console, you'll need to run the new Crashlytics command in the CLI to upload your symbol info. So check out the Getting Started with Crashlytics Unity documentation for more info there.
Great. And that's a really good point, Chris. You said like resources. We are going to be posting this video to our Firebase YouTube channel. And so those resources that Chris was just talking about, they will be posted in the description along with the video so that you can make sure that because it sounded like there were 3 things people really had to do to make sure that they were set up for this. So it's in those docs and in those resources. Let's see what else we have going on. All right. This question is about games. Again, it's about games, but not about Crashlytics. And this one is, what's the best way to model and design a transactional system for something like in-game currency? Anybody want to grab that one?
All right, I'm not a game developer, but I'll give this one a try.
All right, Jeff.
I think there's some broad kind of concepts that apply to any feature in an app that both requires you to be really accurate, like you don't want to miscount money, and also is a target for cheaters. People always want more money and maybe they don't want to follow the rules. So I think the first thing is to use transactions, as in the question. Real-time database and Firestore both support transactions, and that's a way to do things atomically, so all at once. So maybe take some money out of one person's account and put it in another person's account all at once, so that you don't accidentally pull money out, but then the request to put money in fails or have a race condition. So that's one way to keep things accurate. In terms of keeping things safe and avoiding cheaters, Appcheck is a huge thing. It makes sure that the only thing that's talking to your Firebase backend services is your app and not somebody's command line script that they wrote that adds 1 million coins per second to their account. Another thing is security rules. So Appcheck can help in general, but when somebody is using your app but using it in a way that you don't want them to, security rules are a really important way to enforce that if somebody can't add 50 million coins to their account, because that's just not something you would ever do in the normal course of the app. And with security rules, you can test them using the Firebase emulator suite. And finally, all this preventative stuff is great, but you might also want to monitor your database. So maybe have a scheduled cloud function that runs and just checks for all the recent transactions for anything suspicious. So through transaction, app check, security rules, some monitoring, I think you should be all set.
Cool. Wow, that's a lot, but I guess it does, like, for something like this, you want to make sure everything is set up and secure. So that's good. Let's see what else we've got. Oh, I like this question. I knew it would come up. It's about the JavaScript SDK that Jeff mentioned that he liked so much. I knew a question like this would be coming up. So I kind of have a little bit of a secret. I have a direct line to David East, like right into his office. And I kind of pinged him last week and I said, hey, David, so you are the expert on JS SDK. And so we might just like ping you on this. And so I was thinking maybe we could get him like on the show, like right now. What do you guys think?
I love that.
Oh, that'd be awesome. Let's see if we can get him. Let me talk to the director just a second. Hey, how we talked about David East getting online like right now? Do you think we could do it right now?
I'm live. Hey, how did the camera turn on? Hashtag Ask Firebase. I'm here to live, here to answer a question. I'm using the new version of the Firebase JavaScript SDK. Good choice. But I'm not seeing any size reduction benefits. What gives Firebase? This is a great question. If you're using the new version of the JavaScript SDK, version 9, you can potentially see up to an 80% reduction in size from version 8, depending on your use case. And if you're not seeing this, there could be a couple reasons. The first is that you're using the Compatibility Library. So the Compatibility Library helps bridge you from version 8 to version 9. But what it does not do is give you tree shaking. And tree shaking is just a fancy term for the removal of unused code in your app. And that is how we have reduced the size. And we've done that through the new module first format of version 9. The compatibility library follows the old format, so you're not going to get that. So once you fully upgrade to version 9, you'll see those size savings. Another reason why you might not be able to see the size reduction is you're using browser modules. So browser modules are the native way that you can import code. So script type module, and then you just import, and you usually do that from a fully qualified URL. And that right there, if you're doing that from our CDN, that's a quick and easy way to get started because you don't need a build step. But that gives you everything in the new version 9 API. So you still need to run everything through a tool like Webpack or Rollup to get the tree shaking, so it compares the library against your code, reduces the size, and then everything is great. So if you want to learn how to get started with that, then check out a video that I recently did on how to get started with Firebase version 9 and Webpack. And yeah, that was a great question.
Wow. David, thank you so much for that answer and being willing to jump in on questions like this. I know we have a lot of them for you. So, wow, thank you so much, David. Thank you, thank you. But let's see what other questions we have. Maybe we get more about JS SDKs, but hopefully we won't have to bother you anymore about that. So let's see. Okay, our next question. Oh, switching gears completely. So Aaliyah asks, there are lots of exciting new Firebase extensions with API companies, but is it safe to put my API key for Stripe, Twilio in my extensions config? So all about security, making sure that she's safe. Jeff, do you think you could grab this one?
Yeah, definitely. So first of all, yeah, great job just trying to keep all your API keys safe. I know especially with the new extensions we announced, there's tons of really important integrations that involve money and shipping and stuff like that. And you definitely don't want to leak those API keys. But I'm happy to say that all 9 extensions we launched today all support a new parameter type in extensions called secrets. And secrets use Cloud Secret Manager, which is designed from the ground up to handle API keys and passwords and other sensitive stuff to make sure that while you're configuring an extension, you can confidently put your API key in there and know that it's safe.
Awesome. So if I asked you one more question about extensions, would you be okay?
Let's do it.
All right. So this one, though, is about a configuration file. So they want to know, Iman wants to know, if I want to be able to manage my extensions through a config file, how can I do this?
Yeah. So we have a new CLI command for that actually called ext export. Yeah. And what it does is when you run it, it will check what extensions you already have installed in your project and write those into your firebase.json config file. And that way you could check that into version control or something, and other people can see what extensions you have installed in what version and also deploy themselves. Now, when you run that command, oh, sorry to interrupt.
No, that's awesome. I was just like, that's great.
Yeah. But there's even more. Besides pulling down what extensions you're using, it will also pull down the configuration for them. And that means that it's even easier for other people to deploy the same extension configuration you have. Yeah, definitely. That's the perfect use case because I think that app uses something like 17 extensions. So that's a great, you don't want to click through and install all those manually yourself. So definitely a great use case for that. And I think we can throw a link up of where the source code for that is.
Oh, great. Yeah, because I think it just went live or something. So it's going to be, that would be really neat. That's so cool. Let's see if we have anything else. I don't know if there's anything. Let's see. Oh, okay. This is a really good one. This is about simulating a test query. So why is there no simulator to test a query? For example, if a written query to retrieve data from Firestore, so that I can confirm if my query result on Firebase only. So let's see. I know that the emulator suite is going to come into this answer somewhere. Jeff, do you want to talk? Since you do a lot with the emulator and the JS SDK, what do you think?
Yeah, definitely. So before we get to the emulators, the Firebase console helps a little bit here. So when you look at your data in Firestore in the Firebase console and you filter a collection, if you look at the bottom of that filter window, there's actually a little thing that shows you what JavaScript query you'd have to write to get the same data back. That doesn't cover every Firestore data query type, but it's a bit of a start. And then the emulator suite is definitely the best way to do this. So you'll need to load some test data into the emulators, but once you do, you can write Firestore queries and see what results come back without actually querying your real database or potentially messing things up if you're trying to write. There's also a request monitor in the emulator suite that lets you see all the Firestore reads and writes coming in and also whether or not they pass security rules. So you can get really fine-grained information about how your Firestore queries work.
That's fantastic. Yeah, that emulator suite is getting more and more and more powerful. I just love it that we're just like building it out so that people can like make sure they're testing their app well before they actually get it out there to developers. All right, I'm going to take the next one because this is something that I actually am very passionate about, and I think others too. Can we contribute on existing Firebase extensions or create new extensions? And the answer to that is definitely yes. You can contribute because extensions are all open source. And so you can see all the source code for every single Firebase extension. And if you wanted to create your own extension, go ahead and apply to join our alpha program because you can get access to all the resources to be able to learn how to build your own extension. So that's definitely something you can do. Contribute to the existing extensions or even build your own. and make sure you take advantage of those types of the open source nature of extensions. The next one, this one's about Cloud Functions. This is actually something that's really comes up a lot, is how can we bypass Cloud Function cold start? Our app uses a couple of Cloud Functions, but because they are not so often called, we have a delay in the response time. And I think, looking at the live chat, it was answered in chat. So maybe we can go ahead and just let someone read in the chat what the answer to this is, but that's a really good question. So make sure you check it out in the live chat. Let's see, what's our next one? The next one is, can Firebase be implemented on GCP? So Google Cloud, can it be implemented on Google Cloud? So here's a really important thing about Firebase and Firebase projects. They are actually Google Cloud projects under the hood. So everything you're doing in Firebase is actually shown over in Google Cloud Console. So you're actually seeing everything mirrored in both places. Now, what Firebase projects do is they turn on specific APIs that are only available if you have a Firebase project. So things like remote config, A/B testing, Crashlytics, things like that are only available if you have like a Firebase project built on top of your Google Cloud project. So everything in Firebase is actually implemented, layered on top of Google Cloud. So that's a really common question we get. But yes, they work very well together. So let's see. Okay, this is a very important question. I love this question that someone asked it. It's about security. Can you explain more about Appcheck and some tips to keep my web app secure? We are always, always very excited about answering questions like this. Is anyone good with Appcheck on the panel?
Yeah, I mentioned that earlier, so
Yeah.
I'll jump in again and answer this one. So yeah, Appcheck's job is to make sure that only your app can talk to your Firebase services, and not somebody else or some malicious third-party script or something. And it's really easy to set up. There's a call you make on the client, and the Firebase SDK, after you set it up, will send an Appcheck token along with every request, and then the Firebase backend can validate that token. Now, one thing to keep in mind is that Appcheck is one piece of security, right? So Appcheck protects you against things that aren't your app talking to your Firebase backend, but you still want security rules and authentication to guard against malicious user behavior from your app. Let's see, anything else? I think that's it. With authentication, there are different providers. I believe some of the most secure providers are things like sign in with Google or sign in with Apple. But yeah, Appcheck plus auth plus security rules, great way to secure your app.
Yeah, definitely. It's a trifecta there. You got to get going to make sure that you're as secure as possible. Chris, I'm going to toss a question out to you because another question about Crashlytics here, and you are our resident expert on this, is that Leopold, he says, we love your Crashlytics tool. However, we are blind in terms of crash-free session ratio performance for our company. And then his question is, what range makes an app to be excellent, good, average, or bad? Is there any advice we can offer to him about crash-free session ratio performance?
Yeah, I can definitely take that one. Gotta think a little bit because there's not really a great way for me to answer that question without knowing your app's customer base. But I can say that most Crashlytics users aim for that 99% of crash-free users. I can also say that the trend of that graph is more important than the percentage. So when you see a better percentage after a bug fix is released, that's great. But a sudden drop when a new version rolls out could indicate a problem. So a steady or increasing crash-free user percentage over a long period of time should probably be the goal. And speaking of that CFU, crash-free users graph, we recently launched support for Apple platforms running tvOS and macOS to be included in that percentage. And if any issues are being tagged with issue signals that also just launched, that should also help you prioritize which issues you should take on first.
It's amazing. So all these things, I was saying in the beginning that Crashlytics has just been on fire. And so it's like all the little pieces are all built into the different pieces of the dashboard now.
Yeah, like that's what I love about it. They all work so well together that if you're going to the dashboard to solve some issues, like there's going to be multiple things there to help you out.
That's awesome. I just love that all these things have been launched recently. I mean, I work with you on the Crashlytics team, but like sometimes I don't get to see the full picture, so it's really neat to see how you're putting all the pieces together.
Yeah, it's super cool.
Let me ask. Oh wait. Okay, you just mentioned Apple. I have another question. Maybe you can answer this one too, Chris, because it's about Apple platform support. So does the improved Apple platform support in Firebase mean that I can customize experiences in remote config based on Apple device type?
Ah, gotcha. So yeah, I can take that one. So that's a yes and a no. So you can customize experiences in remote config for Apple platforms. But right now, those only include iPhone and iPad models. So far, we are currently working towards providing more advanced filtering in Google Analytics for Apple device types. And this will allow you to use remote config to target different platforms like tvOS and macOS, as well as the device models they support.
Great. Okay, so it's coming up. I like the yes, but no.
Coming soon.
Let's see. Okay, really quick question about Appcheck, because I think the answer is pretty quick, hopefully, is I'm thinking about Appcheck on a new project. Should I start using it right away or wait until I have a fair number of users? Jeff, you want to answer this question really fast to wrap up on Appcheck questions?
Yeah.
Maybe we have some more, I don't know, but this one for sure.
Sure. The short answer is the sooner the better. So you can implement Appcheck without actually turning on Appcheck enforcement. So you can set up in your client app, you can set it up so that it always sends the Appcheck token to the Firebase backend. And then in the console, you'll see a graph showing how many requests are coming from something with a valid Appcheck token versus from a version of your app that it thinks is legit, but doesn't have an Appcheck token, so maybe an older version, and then malicious requests. And you can wait until you see that most of your requests are coming from an app version that has Appcheck enabled before you actually turn on Appcheck enforcement in the Firebase console, and that's when things will start getting blocked. So there's nothing wrong with setting it up as soon as possible.
Cool. Let's see. Oh, another remote config question. I might take this one. Can we update remote config via Google Sheets with a script? So I'm pretty passionate about these kind of things. We do have a REST API for remote config for updating configs, and you should be able to just call that right from your app script. So yes, REST API for remote config. Check it out. There are docs for it, and we'll post links to those in the comment section. Let's see. What else do we have? Oh, this one too. This one's a little bit about remote config, but not quite. So the new personalization feature will help me change my UX to optimize for my app goals. And A/B testing also helps me change my UX to optimize for my app goals. What's the difference between these? Okay, so personalization and A/B testing. We had some of the same questions, and so I was talking to Smit Chandel, who is our DRE who works on this feature, and he kind of boiled it down to this. And let me see if I can get it right. It's like personalization uses machine learning to figure out what is going to be the best user experience for a specific user, and it serves it on a per user basis. A/B testing, though, it uses its algorithms to be able to determine what the best experiment variant is going to be more globally on a set of users, and it's going to serve it over a much longer period of time. But he also said there is a tech session about this and about personalization and when to choose it versus A/B testing that is getting posted with Firebase Summit. And so I'm going to check it out, and you should too, to be able to learn more about that question. So let's see. Oh, another thing about functions. Do callable functions automatically implement an exponential backoff strategy during network failures?
Yeah, I could take this one. As far as I know, the client SDKs for callable functions don't. But that does sound like a kind of cool feature request. I mean, you could always use a different library that handles exponential backoff, but it would always be nice to have it included in the SDK as well. So maybe reach out to support or ping us on GitHub and see if you can get that added. One thing to keep in mind is that for background triggered functions, if the function itself fails, you can set a configuration so that the function itself will retry until it succeeds. There are some billing implications around that, so be a little careful, but just a note to throw in there while we're talking about retries.
Okay, great. Yeah, billing issues are always a concern for functions, but it's good that we have some help on that. So I think we have only a couple more questions, time for questions. So we'll try to get through the next couple. We're just flying through a ton of questions and they just keep coming. So you guys are awesome out there, like posting your questions and putting them up here. Really fast on another web app kind of question is, can we host a Node.js web app on Firebase? And I think, Jeff, since you work so much on web apps, do you think you could take this one too?
Sure, yeah. So you can serve like an Express app, for example, on Cloud Functions, and you can actually connect that to Firebase hosting too, so that you can get nice API routes and redirects between your static content and your functions content. So you can definitely do that. You can also connect Cloud Run to Firebase hosting, and in that case, you could host, a Next.js server or whatever you like through Firebase.
Cool. So the next question is about web apps, but Chris, you and I were talking about real-time database a couple days ago. Maybe you want to grab this one so it's about real-time database. So the Firebase real-time database works well with web apps, especially those making many small write requests. Does Firebase intend to support the real-time database over the long term? A question we get often, but maybe you can answer this one.
Yeah, definitely can speak to this one. Because indeed, real-time database is definitely being supported for the long haul, which I personally enjoy. Since I've got a few projects reading and writing from RTDB, as I like to shorten it. But thanks for, I love that this question points out the strengths of real-time database. Because like when I set out to make a web app for managing a daily email list, I knew I was going to be able to host the scheduled execution stuff on Firebase, Cloud Functions for Firebase, but didn't quite know how the storage aspect of the email content and the recipients was going to work. But thankfully, there's a great recommendation tool to help folks like me decide which database is best for them. So we're going to provide a link to that as well when this video is finally posted on how to choose between real-time database and Firestore.
Yeah, that tool, that recommender is really helpful. I mean, there's just so many different things that each one can be used for. So I'm glad we're going to post that to bring it up a little bit. All right, it looks like we have time for like one more question. And so really quick, does custom backend support for Appcheck, so Appcheck again, big topic this year, I guess, mean I can use it for other app servers or CDNs? So custom backend support for Appcheck, which is brand new. Jeff, you want to wrap up this with this Appcheck question?
Yeah, we actually have a handy blog post about this, but the answer is yes. You can include the Appcheck token in your request headers, and then you can validate that token in backend services like Apigee or even on the edge in Cloudflare Workers. So yes.
Great. Yeah, so many questions about Appcheck and security. I love that. I know that's something that's really top of mind for developers. So awesome questions, everyone, for asking all those types of questions. So we're about out of time. Great questions, great answers all around. But before we go, Chris and Jeff, I just want to ask you really fast, because Firebase Summit has gone over so many over weeks this year and today, is there anything that someone should maybe make sure they check out before they like exit the Firebase Summit kind of stuff? Is there anything that you think that people should check out?
Yeah, definitely. One session that I know Kristen just mentioned it at the keynote that I really hope that folks get out to is the Crashlytics for Games session. It should be live right now, I believe. It's a technical session, but essentially it's for folks looking to make sure that their Unity or NDK apps, Unity or NDK games in particular, are best set up to reach their full stability potential. So highly recommend that one, Crashlytics for Games.
That's awesome. Yes, definitely. Jeff, you have anything that people should definitely check out?
Yeah, my vote's for the code labs and pathways. We actually recently open sourced a lot of the text for the code labs so that if something's incorrect or you get stuck and have a question, you can come to GitHub and actually, submit a pull request to modify the code lab yourself or ask for some clarification. So I think that's really exciting.
That's awesome. I'm in a +1 code labs. I love code labs. Anything with a code lab is going to be a good time. So definitely that. But for all of you all out there, If you want to learn anything more about anything that we mentioned today in the session, we are going to post this video to our Firebase YouTube channel. And as we said several times, is we're going to post some of those resources for things that we've talked about in the comment section. So please make sure you check that out. But for now, thank you so much for joining us on this really special edition of #AskFirebase, but live. And we really hope that we will see you all soon. Thanks for joining us. Bye.